The city of Gwangyong was a bustling metropolis, its streets humming with life as neon signs flickered under the evening sky. But even in the liveliest corners, shadows lurked, long, ominous shapes that seemed alive. These were whispers of the mystical realm, barely concealed beneath the surface of everyday life. Eun-soo hurried through a narrow alley, clutching his satchel as the world seemed to flicker around him. The air felt heavier than usual, and despite the crowd milling around the main streets behind him, the alley was strangely quiet. He glanced over his shoulder, feeling a familiar icy sensation crawl down his spine. Eun-soo wasn't an ordinary 19-year-old university student. For as long as he could remember, shadows had followed him, bending unnaturally, whispering things he couldn't understand. His grandmother had warned him all his life to stay out of darkness, insisting that the shadows carried more than just the absence of light. But Eun-soo dismissed her words as superstition passed down through generations, until last summer, when he discovered the Shadowweaver's mark on his wrist. The mark was intricate, a swirling pattern resembling a black serpent biting its own tail. Whenever he touched it, shadows reacted, moving toward him as though alive. It wasn't just frightening, it was dangerous. 2 months ago, Eun-soo had accidentally unleashed a creature made entirely of shadows in the middle of his campus library, causing utter chaos. Ever since, he was desperate to stay invisible, blending into the background without drawing attention to himself or the mark. "Just focus," he murmured to himself, his knuckles whitening around the satchel's strap as his university campus loomed into view. He wasn't early for class, nor was he late. Eun-soo had mastered arriving only when everyone else was already distracted. He ducked into a lecture hall, sliding into a seat at the back, ignoring the whispered chatter around him. The professor began droning on about classic Korean literature, but Eun-soo's attention wavered. He felt it again, the shadows stirring behind him. His skin tingled as a faint chill brushed over the back of his neck. With quiet precision, he turned his head slightly, scanning the rows behind him. A girl with jet black hair and piercing eyes was staring at him. Or more precisely, his wrist. Eun-soo's blood froze. He subtly tugged his jacket sleeve down, hiding the mark as she blinked and looked away. But her glance left a trail of unease on his skin. She wasn't familiar, and he had nearly memorized every face in this building to avoid encounters like this. Who was she? And why had her gaze felt so deliberate? The lecture slide changed, but Eun-soo wasn't paying attention anymore. Suddenly, his mark burned painfully hot under his sleeve. Gritting his teeth, he clenched his hand over the spot, trying to keep the expression on his face neutral. His heart raced as the professor's words became indistinct murmurs against the throbbing in his wrist. Then he saw it, the shadows. They began pooling under desks and chairs, creeping along the walls toward him. Nobody else seemed to notice, but Eun-soo swore he saw the shadow of a serpentine creature slither past the professor's podium. Before Eun-soo could react, someone passed him a small folded piece of paper, sliding it onto his desk without ceremony. His head snapped up, but whoever had delivered it was already gone. The black-haired girl sat 3 rows ahead, her shoulders straight, her expression unchanging. Eun-soo hesitated, his fingers clumsy, as he unfolded the paper. It read, in barely legible handwriting, "You're the marked one. Meet me at the old auditorium after sunset." His pulse quickened. The old auditorium had been condemned years ago, deemed too dangerous for students after structural damage had rendered the building unstable. He had no reason to go, no reason except the strange pull he felt from the mark. It burned hotter now, as though urging him to follow her instructions. Every instinct told him not to go. But Eun-soo had questions about the mark, about the shadows, about why the world suddenly seemed to bend around him in unnatural ways. If the girl had answers, he'd risk everything to get them. The sun hung low on the horizon as he approached the abandoned auditorium, the city glowing faintly behind him. The light was fading fast, and Eun-soo was painfully aware that shadows had begun stretching farther, creeping closer as though trying to swallow him whole. His sneakers crunched against the broken gravel outside the building as he hesitated by the entrance. The glass doors were cracked, one hanging loosely off its hinge. His chest felt tight, his mark pulsing faintly, a reminder of its ever-present grip on his life. Stepping inside, Eun-soo was enveloped by the eerie silence that only empty spaces carried. His mark pulsed faintly, a constant reminder of its ever-present grip on his life. The girl was waiting for him, standing in the center of the dusty, dim room. She was taller than he had first thought, her sharp eyes gleaming unnaturally, just like the shadows that seemed alive around her feet. "You came," she said simply, her voice carrying a quiet power. "Good. You have questions." Eun-soo didn't reply right away. He clenched his fists, staring at her warily. "You knew about the mark," he said finally, his voice breaking the stillness. "How?" she smirked, crossing her arms. "I'm just like you." Her sleeve pulled back, revealing her wrist. A glowing silver mark shimmered, the inverse of his. Where his was deep black, hers seemed to emit faint light. It twisted and writhed like smoke trapped beneath her skin. "You're a Shadowweaver," she continued, her tone matter-of-fact, "but you're untrained, which is why you're a danger to yourself and others." She stepped closer, her movements deliberate. "I'm Eun-soo. I've been trying to track you for weeks before the shadows claimed you entirely." Eun-soo raised an eyebrow. "Claimed me? What do you mean?" Eun-soo sighed, her expression growing serious. "You've felt it. The pull, right? The mark grows stronger when shadows are near. It wasn't given to you randomly. Shadowweavers like us are chosen for a purpose. That purpose isn't always pretty. The mark connects us to the shadow realm, a dimension that blends into ours. That connection lets us control shadows, but it binds us to its rules. Rule 1. If you don't learn how to control the mark, it'll control you." Eun-soo swallowed hard, his mind racing. "Control me? Yes," Eun said simply. "And believe me when I say the shadows don't care about your life. They'll strip you of everything human, your thoughts, your body, your soul, until you're nothing more than one of them." Eun-soo stepped back instinctively, panic bubbling in his chest. This was too much, too sudden, too unreal. But as he moved, the shadows around his feet rippled unnaturally, almost eagerly. "What do I do?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Eun's smirk returned, though it was softer now. "You learn. Shadow weaving is an art, not a curse. It takes practice, discipline, and sacrifice." Eun-soo hesitated. He didn't know what sacrifice meant, but something about the way she said it made him feel uneasy. Before he could ask, a sudden crash echoed through the auditorium. Shadows exploded outward, twisting and thrashing wildly as a monstrous form emerged from the far corner. Eun's jaw tightened. Her mark flared brilliantly, spilling silver light into the room as the creature moved forward. "Stay back," she instructed sharply. "You don't know how to fight yet." Eun-soo wanted to argue, but his feet felt frozen in place. The shadows around his wrist rippled violently, as if resonating with the creature's twisted form. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe, as the monster loomed closer. Eun stepped forward, gathering the shadows around her with practiced precision. Her voice cut through the chaos. "This is what happens when the mark corrupts," she said grimly. And if you don't master yours soon, you'll become the same. With a single motion, Ga Young unleashed a burst of light, her mark shining brighter than ever. The creature screeched, its form unraveling, vanishing into the void as the shadows finally settled. Eun-soo staggered backward, his heart pounding. Ga Young turned to him, her face etched with determination. Lesson 1. Shadows are neither good nor evil, but it's up to you which side they take. Eun-soo stared at her, feeling the weight of her words settle deep into his chest. He didn't have all the answers, but one thing was certain. This was only the beginning of his journey into the world of shadow weaving. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more adventures unfold, don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next chapter.